Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to One Piece versus 4K. I'm Ben,
I'm Rob.
and this is a podcast. If you haven't heard the first two episodes yet, where we compare the One Piece 4Kids anime to the Funimation dub and sub, and sometimes also we throw in some comparisons to the manga as well. So, yeah, welcome back, guys. What's been going on
Yep.
with you, Rom?
Um, so basically, like the with everything that's been going on, like yeah, they just dropped the latest chapter. I think like they're around chapter 979. And then so that was a pretty good chapter, but like I think now with everything that's going on, they're releasing chapters like every 2 weeks. Usually what they do is they'll release a chapter every single week and then like I don't know if it's 1 week out of the month or 1 week every 2 months they take a break and then they like release it in 2 weeks or something. Or if there's like a major festival, they'll release it like a week after. But because of what's going on right now with the virus and everything, they are like I think they're doing like one release every 2 weeks or something like that. The author for the show or the author for the series just basically said because of all this there will be like more breaks or like once every 2 weeks. So the next chapter, I think chapter 980 is coming out in 2 weeks. So yeah, I gotta wait another long period before the next chapter. But yeah, what about you?
Uh, I don't know. I just been busy with work, and then outside of work, I just been playing Animal Crossing a lot.
Dude, so wait, is Animal Crossing just for Nintendo? Because I
Yeah.
I saw like an Android app, Animal
No, yeah.
Crossing. I'm
There's
not
an
sure.
app. There's an app, but I don't think it's anywhere near as engaging. You can hardly do anything.
Okay. Dude, like the One Piece subreddit is like filled with like people like replicating One Piece stuff on Animal Crossing. And
Oh
I see
yeah.
Animal Crossing, yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine people would do that.
Yeah, so it's just yeah, like actually it's not just them. I see it in other subreddits too where like people use Animal Crossing to replicate something that they like in real life. They're just like they'll try to like replicate it in Animal Crossing. I don't know. Like it was like a huge thing.
Yeah, it's interesting how much you can customize stuff.
Yeah, did you yeah. Then I think Cyberpunk was it Cyberpunk 2077 or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know when that's coming out. I'm not. I'm not really excited for it. I don't know why. Uh, I never really played any of their games. The company that makes Witcher or whatever.
Hmm.
Did you
Hmm.
watch Witcher on Netflix?
I haven't yet.
Oh, I haven't. It seems like something you would have watched. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, dude, like yeah, I haven't yet. I've heard mixed reviews about it. Some people said that like it wasn't as good, but it's like there's apparently some promise to it. Um
Oh, one
yeah.
of our mutual friends watched it, and he said he was gonna start off by playing the first game. Uh,
Oh, okay,
if
okay.
anyone's listening, do not play the first game. Uh, yeah. So basically, what they did is by the time they got to the third game, from everything I've read, that like the third game is the one that you should just start out with. If you try to play the first one, you'll be like, this game sucks.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Like, yeah.
It's almost kind of like it's almost kind of like Assassin's Creed type thing, where by the time they got to the third game or whatever, they were at their peak.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, like, my favorite Assassin's Creed game was it's like a tie between Black Flag and Syndicate. Um, the Ezio series, that's the like that came before Black Flag Syndicate. That was pretty good. I know a lot of people hated the it's, I think it's Rogue. It's the one where it's like it's also the one that a lot of people complained about because
No,
of
that was Unity, I think.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. Rogue was between okay. Yeah, so yeah, Unity. I know a lot of people hated Unity. I thought it was all right. I mean, I saw like all the bugs. I ran across some of the bugs.
Didn't you
So
did you play Origins and Odyssey yet?
so I started Origins, and then I don't know. It's not grabbing me just yet. Like I'm trying to keep up with it. I haven't even like touched Odyssey, so I've been like trying to.
Oh
I
yeah.
think I'll eventually get to Odyssey. They did say
Origins is the
they.
one I think my wife likes the most.
Okay, okay, okay. I'll have to play it a little more. It's just I've been stuck in it for some time. Um, yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
just have.
I mean that one's so much more open than any of the other ones too. Anyways, there's like so much going on.
Yeah, it's like as I was playing Origins, it's like then I kind of put a pause to that, and then I got into like a whole other video game where I like spent so much time on that video game, and then now more recently I just finished Spider-Man, so yeah, and then I finally got Red Dead Redemption 2 and like starting to work on that.
You enjoying it?
Yeah, I mean once I got past the snow portion of the game, like I guess that's the tutorial of the game. That's what like one of our friends told us and like told me. Once I got past that, it started to get a little more exciting. It had that whole open world concept that I'm kind of used to with like Spider-Man and Assassin's Creed and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm still kind of doing that. But yeah, I mean, dude, so it's just been work and just kind of like cooking and Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah, cooking's been taking up so much time, man. Like just there's been man, it's driving me crazy. Like I only eat something from outside like once a week, if that. And
Mm.
it's just crazy. Like having like you know, you don't think about it like when you like when I was actually at the office, I'd go somewhere and get something to eat almost every day. Now I get off on my break, then I have to make something, or I have to start trying to make it like like 30 minutes before I go on lunch or whatever. Yeah, it's just a lot. Like I feel like my lunches are only 30 minutes now because of the
Yeah,
preparation time.
yeah, yeah. No, since I'm using like Blue Apron and stuff, like the stuff that they're sending, like so far, like I think I've I've used the like so I've had only like one dish that was like with like an oven. The other ones have pretty much been like just I just use it's like all like I fry in the pan and stuff, so it's not really like too intensive. So it's like it's nice. I can just like it's just prepping and cutting up the vegetables that's like taking me a long time. But
Oh
once I
man,
get
that
all the
takes me
vegetables,
forever.
yeah, it's like once I
Yeah.
get that done, it's like rest is just kind of like stir frying everything and then it's like serving.
Y-
So
You at least have enough for the second day though, right?
yeah, I mean, so basically, like, I get two meals now. So it's like each meal is supposed to feed two people. So it's
Yeah.
like when I cook one meal, I'll kind of cut it up into two portions. I'll eat one for lunch and then one for dinner, and then the next day I'll eat one for lunch, one for dinner, something like that.
What was the last thing you ate?
The last thing I ate, I think it was a pasta dish. Basically, yeah, it was like a pasta dish. It was like some kale pasta salad or something. So basically, just kind of like I think I had to. This one wasn't really too intensive. I just had to cook the pasta, the kale. Once I just washed it, I had to stir fry some of the other vegetables that I would put in the pasta. But like besides stir frying that, I just basically dump everything into that stir fry. Dump the kale into the stir fry and mix it up, and then that was that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Feel like a lot of it's just like stir frying everything. So like
Oh yeah. They it's well to see that's what's like drives me crazy because as soon as I'm done cooking, I gotta clean the pot because the next day I'm gonna
yeah.
be eating it again. So yeah, and I wish I could get more than one serving out of it because I'm cooking for two. But
Yeah, yeah, true, true, true.
yeah, but I'm doing 3 a week. So
Okay, 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 okay.
I went to two because we were getting really tired of cooking nonstop.
Hmm.
But then this thing happened, and it's pretty much the only good food that I eat.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
It's
well, I guess we'll get into this episode.
okay.
Uh, so it this episode to me seemed really short. There wasn't a whole bunch going on, especially after the episode before. Um, so it's this episode. I know this one has a different name because I can see what's really weird about. So I'm watching the Four Kids dub, and I the episode titles I had downloaded the Four Kids dub, and the episode titles are
Mhm.
the actual titles, like the titles of the Funimation dub, for some odd reason. And
Hmm.
but in the show itself, there's a different title.
Oh, so what's the Funimation title? Or sorry, what's the Four Kids title?
Yeah, so the Four Kids title for episode 3 is An Unlikely Pair, the Pirate and the Pirate Hunter.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
So what
Okay.
was your episode's name?
It was I think Luffy versus Captain Morgan, who is the pretty red girl.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Actually, let me
No,
just
yeah, yeah.
double
Yeah,
check. Yeah.
I know it right here. I have it. It says Morgan versus Luffy, who's the mysterious pretty girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird that they've titled the episodes. I don't know. I don't even know. I'm curious if anyone's even been chronicling these episode titles. Maybe they're just too lazy and no one's done it because they are different, which is weird. They're usually. It seemed like for the first two episodes they're pretty similar, but this episode was totally different. It didn't even mention the girl
Oh, oh wow.
in the
Okay,
you
okay,
know in the
okay.
title itself.
Okay, 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 okay.
But anyways, episode at the very beginning, it starts off with showing you that Luffy has brought the sword to Zolo. He says again, "I didn't know what sword was yours or whatever," and he says, "Well, they're all three mine." And he says, "Yeah, I will join you, but just go ahead and untie me." And Captain Morgan is still standing there, and he mentions that he's basically remarking to what happened at the end of the last episode, how when Luffy basically flings the bullets back at him, he mentions that Luffy has eaten the cursed fruits, uh, and one of the Navy men says, "Oh, do you mean like Adam and Eve?" And he remarks, "No," and continues to tell the story about the cursed fruit. It's pretty much very similar to. Didn't Alvita tell a similar story about it? Or was this the first time they ever went into detail about it? Because I seem to already have a grasp on what it was.
Yeah, I think she did a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of seemed like a recap of that. Um, and then he said the cursed fruit, take one bite and you get mysterious powers. And then while he's talking, Zolo breaks free and the Navy men just start chasing him. And Zolo mentions he wants to be the best swordsman ever, and Luffy agrees that he'll need to be if he's going to be a part of his crew. And then, as they're running away, Luffy knocks them all out with a kick and says, and Zolo's like, "What in the world? How did you do that?" And Luffy is just like, "It's the gum gum fruit." Um, and then he says, and then all of a sudden, Zolo's staring down Captain Morgan, and he's like, "Your axe doesn't scare me, but your face does." And then next thing you know, Luffy punches the captain. Um, which he which they which he refers to as the axe hand. And he punches him to the ground. And at the same time, Mister Helmeppo is holding this weird device to Colby's head, and I know this is something that is totally censored in the Four Kids dub. He holds this like wind up like hammer device um, to Colby's head, and he's about to like wind it up to hit him in the head with it. And he tells Luffy to stop hurting his dad. So Zolo attacks Captain Morgan, who's about to axe Luffy's head as Luffy punches Helmeppo. And you know, Captain Morgan's defeated, and Zolo is like, if anyone wants to capture us, please step forward. He's saying that to the rest of the Navy men, and they all just give up on an instant. And I noticed here too that the Navy men were holding guns, but they look like squirt guns.
Mm.
Um, I it looks like a squirt gun, but at the same time, it doesn't like. I mean, it looks like a squirt gun, but it doesn't really look like I don't know. It wasn't really obvious. I think it was in the last episode, but it wasn't obvious that it was like a squirt gun. But I looked up a comparison shot because I thought it
Mhm.
was kind of weird this time, and they are totally different.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, then we see the redhead in the Navy base looking for a safe. It cuts to like a different scene, and then she finds the
Yep.
map. Um, to she says that she's basically she's trying to find the map for the Grand Line, and she opens up the safe, and it turns out to be a replacement from some pirate clown. She remarks his name. I didn't get it. Um,
Mm.
what is his name?
It's Buggy, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think they still call him Buggy in Four
Yeah, I
Kids
think
too.
that might be right.
Yep.
Um, Zolo, and then the next scene, you see Zolo and Luffy eating a ton of food at that little girl's restaurant. And I had noticed Luffy is drinking some orange juice, and he's like eating some kind of fish.
Mm.
And Zolo remarks about the size of his ship and the crew, and he's like, "Is it really just you and me?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's it. But soon we'll have a very huge ship." And he then expresses that his ultimate goal is to go to the Grand Line to find the One Piece. Um, the legendary pirate Gold Roger hid the One Piece at the Cemetery of Pirates, and that's where he wants to go. And Zolo and Luffy ask Colby to join him, but Colby says no, he's going to be joining the Navy. Then Zolo remarks that the Navy will never hire him, as soon as he's saying that, the Navy men walk in and tell them thank you, but they must leave at once because they're pirates and they can't just allow them to stay there. And then everyone at the bar expresses that they are heroes as they all leave. Um, Luffy then starts telling the Navy the whole story about Colby, how he was trapped on his ship, and Colby gets pissed off and just punches him in the face. And then he hits back, and then the Navy men realize that, or they think that, oh well, they wouldn't be fighting unless they're sworn enemies to each other. And then we see the redhead lady leaving on a ship with that clown note. And then Zolo and Luffy sail off into the wind as Colby salutes them, and some of the other Navy men do as well. And then I guess the lead says that they're going to have to be punished for a week. And then Luffy tells Zolo he will become king of the pirates because he made a promise to someone. And you don't quite find out who that promise he made. You see like a scene, but you don't really see the person. And that's how the episode ends.
Okay. Cool. Um. Okay. I guess I'll start with mine. I think I had like one question for you, but like I guess like I'll as I say it, I'll kind of remember that question, and then I'll just ask it at the recap.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, episode 3. The title was, I think, that I mentioned earlier. It was Captain Morgan versus Luffy, or Luffy versus Captain Morgan. I can't remember which one, but yeah, Captain Morgan versus Luffy. Who was that pretty girl? And in the manga chapters, it's chapter 6. Like this episode covers chapter 6 and chapter 7. So yeah, so we pretty much pick up from where we left off in episode 2. Luffy uses his rubber skin to deflect the bullets. He then hands Zoro the 3 sword. Like he then has his 3 swords, shows it to Zoro, and then uh, he's like, "I don't know which sword was yours. Here you go." And he's like, "All 3 are mine." And Zoro says he uses this sword technique. He uses this sword fighting technique called Sentoryu, or
Hmm.
3 sword style. Um, was that something that was mentioned
Yeah.
in the 4 kids? So did he say Centauri or 3 sword style or anything?
Yeah, he did. He had
Okay, okay,
mentioned
okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay, and so basically, as the Marines, basically, yeah, Morgan kind of tells them, like, Luffy probably ate like the devil fruit and stuff. Kind of like, yeah, he gave that quick recap, and then as the Marines were about to like come attack them with knife, uh, Zoro, now that he's free, he blocks all the attacks with his 3 swords, one in his mouth and one in each hand. The Marines under Morgan said that they're not strong enough to fight these guys. And so basically, what happens is, Zoro has all of them. Like he basically blocked all of them with his 3 swords. Then Zoro basically tells Luffy, "Hey, look, I want to become the world's greatest swordsman. And if I don't accomplish that because of some like if I don't accomplish that because of you, you have to take responsibility. Apologize." He's like, "Yeah, sure, that's great. I like the world's greatest sword. You need to be that to be a member of the Pirate King's crew or something like that." And then he basically Luffy then uses his basically I forget if it was his Gum Gum pistol, but he basically uses his legs to he uses the Gum Gum whip, and he basically whips all the Marines off towards Morgan. Like they all land near Morgan, and then the Marines basically tell Morgan, "Hey, these guys are really strong. We're not good enough to beat these guys." And then Morgan yells out, "Anyone who just made that weak statement should go shoot themselves." And And then, I guess I just want to say something really quick about like censorship between the manga and the anime. So in
Okay.
the anime, we don't really see this. Like they actually kind of cut this part out. But in the manga, we actually do see the Marines actually holding the pistols. Like you see, like all these Marines holding the pistols at their head,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, and then and then in the manga, like Captain Morgan's like was basically directing them to kind of point it at their head. They do, and then he was about to tell them to fire, but before he does, Luffy's like, and then you kind of see this in the anime too. Basically, Zoro says these guys are mental. And then in the manga, Luffy says, "Hey, I'm your opponent." And then he goes after him. But in like the anime, you don't see like the soldiers pointing the gun at themselves. They do not include that part at all. Basically, after Morgan says, "Hey, anyone who made that weak statement should go kill him," Luffy basically, when he makes that statement, anybody who is weak should go kill themselves or shoot themselves. After he says that, Luffy then just starts running at him and then punches Captain Morgan.
Hmm.
And then, so basically, yeah, Luffy then just like punches Captain Morgan. He dodges Captain Morgan's attack, and it's pretty one sided, to be honest. Like, Luffy's just kicking his ass. And then, as he's doing that, then he just starts to punch Morgan, saying he's like ruining Kobe's dream of the Navy. And as he's saying that, Helmeppo then says, "Hey, stop doing that. I have your friend, Colby," and then he has a gun pointing at Kobe's head.
Hmm.
So he doesn't have the thing that knocks at Kobe's head.
Yeah, yeah, I figured
Yeah,
that much. I was like, it does. This is the first time something is super out of place. Like super, it's obvious. Like why? Like what in the world is going on? Like why would he have a hammer? It doesn't make
yeah,
any sense. It's obvious that something was censored, even if he didn't, know they had censored anything. It's like painstakingly obvious at this point.
yeah. And then yeah, so then we see like Kobe sells hostage at gunpoint, but he tells Luffy not to let this stop him. He says basically tells Luffy, "I'm not scared. Keep going. Don't allow this to stop me." And he's like, "I'm not afraid to die." And then Luffy basically tells Helmeppo, "Hey, hey, stupid son, he's not afraid to die." And then even though Helmeppo threatens to shoot him and stuff, but basically like as Luffy was about to punch Helmeppo, you see Captain Morgan come with his big axe about to swing at Luffy, and then as Luffy hits Helmeppo, obviously the gun doesn't shoot. He doesn't shoot the gun. He just like falls back with the gun, and then he just says Luffy then just says nice, and we find out that Zoro actually cut uh, Captain Morgan, and he defeated Captain Morgan. And then Zoro basically says like, if anybody else wants to capture us, just step forward. Just yeah, step forward, and then basically all the Marines then just kind of celebrate that like Captain Morgan's reign's over, and they're all happy that they don't have to be afraid of him anymore. And then we kind of cut to the red hair girl in the inside the base, and she has like these two Marines tied up, and she goes into Captain Morgan's office. She's looking for something, and then she finds the safe, and she opens the safe, and then she says, "Oh, great! This is the maritime map of the Grand Line."
Hmm.
And and it turns out that a person named Buggy the Immortal stole that map. And then it cut back to the restaurant, and Zoro just says he's been stuffed. He hasn't been eating for 3 weeks. In the manga, since it's like 9 days, he's like, I feel full. I haven't eaten in 9 days, so there's that little discrepancy. And then yeah, so basically Luffy so yeah, Zoro's like, I'm stuffed after eating, and then Luffy's like, oh wow, you don't eat that much or something to that effect, just calling him like a wimp for just eating so little. And then Zoro's like, man, you ate way more than me. You have like a bigger appetite than me, or you look way more hungry than me or something. Um and then yeah, so then Zoro kind of asks about the pirate crew, and then Luffy kind of informs him it's just him and Zoro. It's just the two of them. And then Zoro asks, "Where's the ship?" And then he points to the ship, and it's like this little tiny boat. And then Zoro's like, "Dang, it's just us and this little boat." And Luffy's like, "No, we'll get like a bigger ship." And then he kind of envisions himself in this like bigger ship with like the pirate skull with straw hat and everything. He's holding
Yeah.
like he's standing in front of the ship holding a knife, or sorry, a huge sword. And yeah, that's just his little dream. And then basically it, Luffy basically says that he's going to go off to the Grand Line and stuff. And then this is when like Kobe starts to talk about the Grand Line, and this is kind of when we figure out like how the Grand Line is set up. There's
Yeah.
this
Yeah. But see, the thing is, this part also was kind of like a recap to me because I don't know if in the Funimation dub, but at the beginning of every episode in the Four Kids dub, they like right before the theme song, they like basically explain exactly what was explained here, what Colby's explaining here.
I mean, sort of like from the Funimation dub, it's like they just say where the treasure is, and they
Yeah.
say, about Gold Roger and how he found the treasure and everything.
Yeah.
That's all they really say.
Yeah.
This is like the first time we actually get like a good kind of like recap of how the One Piece world is, like how it actually looks.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I mean, they did
Yeah.
explain the graveyard part, which isn't really explained in the intro.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So this is, yeah, he's basically kind of like describing that. He basically says that basically the world way the One Piece world is you have these two large oceans, and then they're split by this large continent called the Red Line, and then at the center of the Red Line is the city, and then the Grand Line is like centered on a 90-degree angle from the Red Line, and it covers the whole world. So it's like from like a top angle, it looks like a cross or like a cross, yeah, like a cross or a plus sign, So it
Hmm.
separates like four oceans and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how the Grand Line looks. And then basically, Rika's mom, the owner of the shop, says that like people don't come out of the Grand Line alive. Like pirates who go in, they don't come back alive. And but Luffy says that's where the One Piece is, so that's where we're going. And then Zoro's like, well, that looks like it. And then yeah, and then Kobe says he wants to join the Marines, and basically Zoro says, well, since he was with Alvida's crew for 2 years, even though he was a cabin boy, he was still with her crew for 2 years, so that'll basically disqualify him from joining the Marines, and like how like the Marines have like a pretty good like background checks process. And basically, right as they say that, the Marines kind of come in and they tell them, they're grateful for basically Luffy and Zoro from basically freeing them from the Captain Morgan's terror. And then, yeah, but they said that because you guys are pirates and we are the Navy, you guys have to leave immediately. And then Luffy's like, all right, cool. So we'll leave. And as they were leaving, the Marine was like, hey, aren't you part of their crew? And then Luffy basically is like, oh, yeah, I know all about this kid. And he basically talks about, and so there is actually a difference between what the Funimation dub says and what the sub and the manga says. So
Okay.
in the Funimation dub, what they say is that, so yeah, basically Luffy kind of goes in, talks about how there was this pirate named Alvida. She was this really fat uh, pirate lady who had like this huge club at spikes. And the Funimation dub, he actually says, and yeah, this little guy, Kobe, he was with her crew for 2 years as a cabin boy, and then so he was basically doing this to kind of like rile Kobe up the punch in.
Hmm.
So that's the Funimation dub, but both in the manga and the sub, he actually never says cabin boy. So basically, he basically says in the sub, he's basically like, yeah, I know all about this kid Kobe for the past 2 years. He was with, there was this, basically, there was this huge pirate lady, really fat pirate lady named Alvida who carried like an iron mace. And then this guy, he was with, and then before he could say that he was with her for 2 years for that, Kobe punches him, like before he even reveals like the extent of their relationship.
Oh wow.
Kobe punches. Yeah. So in the manga and the subbed, he never actually says cabin boy, but in the dubbed, he does say that he was his cabin boy. But yeah, I guess like in the dubbed, it's like as soon as he says cabin boy, like yeah, Kobe gets angry and he punches Luffy, and then Luffy then punches back and beats him up a lot, and then Zoro stops him and says that's enough. And then the Marines are like, okay, it's clear that you guys aren't part of the same crew. And then yeah, Kobe and Zoro leave, and then Kobe asks to join the Marines, and then the Marine officer is like, they were originally hesitant. They said they'll do like some background check, but he's like, but Kobe's like determined to become a Marine, so they let him join the Marines. And then basically they go down to the docks. Kobe runs down to the docks. We see the red hair girl, and she basically looks at Buggy's. Um, she basically looks at the note that Buggy left, and then yeah, we just see her. But then like yeah, we see Luffy and Zoro there. Kobe comes in and thanks them and like salutes them, and then Zoro's like, "Hey, this is a first for a Marine to go salute a pirate."
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then they just kind of like they get on their boat and they sail off, and then all the Marines come behind them, and like they all also basically all the Marines from the base, they all come down and they also salute them too. And then the head Marine, he basically said, "Hey, you got some good friends there." Like he directed that towards Kobe,
Hmm.
and the head Marine guy said, "Hey, because you guys saluted pirates, this is against the naval policy, so no food for 3 days." And so there is like a little difference right here. In the dub, he says 3 days. In the sub, he also says 3 days of no food. But in the manga, they actually says no food for a week, no meals for a week. So it's
Okay.
like a slight difference.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
yeah, and then we basically see Zoro and Luffy kind of sail off, and then Luffy, he says that like he made a promise to an unknown guy, that he's going to become the king of the pirates. So he's trying to fulfill that promise, and that is where. And you don't really get too much into it, but that is where the story ends. Although I will say that in the manga, that scene where he promises some guy, that yeah, you don't actually see that in the manga. And I guess one thing I should add is that so far the red hair girl is still not in the manga.
Oh. That's even funnier considering this episode's name.
Yeah.
And
So
and and also it, it really makes like zero sense that they would even have her in the episode name too, because like in the, at least in the anime itself, you've seen her every single
yeah.
episode. So like, why now are they just mentioning it? Only because she has like more of a part. She's actually stealing something this time.
Oh, like yeah, possibly. I think it's just
Yeah.
like since she's made like an appearance in the first two episodes, they're just like, all right, we'll just put that in the title in the third one. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's weird. Yeah, it's like they just made it this way. Um, yeah, it's just yeah, they just made it this way.
Yeah. I
And
mean, I'm I don't I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but
oh, so
it's just
basically,
interesting that they
like
changed it.
yeah, I mean, so basically in the manga, like so in the anime, like Luffy just says that hey, there's this pirate named Alvida, and then all of that. But in the manga, Luffy actually says, "Hey, there's this like secret island, and there's this pirate named Alvida who's like this big fat pirate lady
Oh.
with that." So,
Yeah.
yeah, obviously, the first chapter, the second chapter in the manga is an island. The first episode is a boat, so there's that kind of difference. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, and then yeah, I mean, it was also like some orange drink too. It wasn't like
Okay.
beer or anything. It was the same orange drink.
Wow, they didn't change something. That's interesting. Was he also eating fish?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Was he using a fork?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That part all stayed
Hey
the
man, I
same.
didn't know, man. Sometimes with these like localizations, they like take out everything. Like if there's chopsticks, they're like, no, why would, sometimes they'll even change the nationality of the people. They're like, no, why would an American eat with a chopstick?
Yeah, so actually, the creator of this series, Ichiro Oda, someone he actually said that like all the characters in the show aren't Japanese. They're all
Oh,
like different nationalities. Only one of the character is actually Japanese. The rest aren't Japanese. I don't think it'll be too much of a
but
spoiler.
it's still weird
Yeah.
that you're saying that, but then it's weird that they're not Japanese yet. In the previous episode, it's a whole rice ball.
Yeah, yeah. It's
It's
kind
like
of
it's not
weird that way.
Japanese, but any of the food that I'm thinking about to include in this anime is purely Japanese.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's just kind of how it's going to be like throughout
Yeah.
the show for the most part. But like, like so basically like someone asked like Oda, what are the nationalities of these different characters? And from the ones we've seen so far, I don't remember if he actually mentioned what Kobe's nationality was, but like he's like Luffy is actually like a Brazilian. He's not like Japanese. He's actually a Brazilian guy. And Zoro is the only Japanese character, like only character whose nationality is Japanese is Zoro. That's it.
Okay, I guess it kind of makes sense with the type of swords he has.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. So yeah, he's the only one who's actually Japanese. And the red hair girl, uh, she someone asked her, and someone asked him, and he said she is actually. I think he said she's Swedish. I think that's what he says.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think she is supposed to be Swedish. Yeah, pretty sure she is supposed to be Swedish. It was one of those like northern like
Man,
European countries, but yeah, I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be Swedish.
s- I guess good thing. I wonder if the people that were doing the dub knew all this stuff, or if they did. I don't know. It might be weird. What if they like? What if they gave Luffy a Brazilian accent?
Dude, no, they definitely didn't. I don't know when he actually made this interview, but they
Yeah.
definitely didn't do that, especially with some of the upcoming characters. They definitely didn't take that into consideration.
Yeah.
And then I guess one thing I could do as we kind of like reach those characters, I'll kind of like say what nationalities they're supposed to be.
Yeah, that would
Um,
be interesting. Does he say that
yeah.
Alvita is an American cowgirl?
I don't think he did.
No. Yeah.
I think he just covered like the major crew characters, like the all the crew members that are in the that are in his crew. That's the only thing that he'll mention.
Got it.
But there is a character that comes on later in the anime and manga and everything. Not part of Four Kids. This is way past Four Kids. He is an American, so there is an American in this crew eventually. But yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, it's yeah, it's he's also one of the most loved characters in the entire thing. So yeah. But yeah, I guess like yeah, so I guess some of the differences that we saw, obviously the gun is one thing that we saw that was different because
Yeah.
like the regular one had a gun, yours had like a weird hammer thing.
Yeah. I'm sure you've seen a picture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I've seen the photo of that thing. It was like the weirdest edit that like they made.
Yeah, I know. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know. I guess because they're holding it at the head, because he's holding it near his head. But
Yeah.
like, they do look like water guns that the Navy is holding. I was thinking that, but I was like, at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, you couldn't really tell that that was censored because you're like, oh, this could just be how the illustrator wanted to draw the guns. It doesn't like, like it looks like it, but it could be mistaken for just a weird way to draw a gun. But
Yeah, I
no,
mean,
that hammer thing is just freaking weird, man. And it just makes
yeah.
no sense when you have people pointing guns at you and then, why is this guy holding some kind of hammer torture device?
Yeah. And like yeah, there's always like I have to look back at the first five chapters, but I think this is the first time where we see something that's like censored between the manga and the anime. Like this is like the first incident. I think this is the first
Oh
of
yeah.
many incidents that's about to come on. But yeah, like because like the yeah, so, like the people pointing the gun at themselves. That's obviously something that was censored in the even the Japanese anime itself. And like this isn't even like the first thing first kind of censored between manga and anime that I've heard of. Like there's this one show, I can't remember which. It was like this random scene I think I saw on YouTube where like this character angry look like it's like this character is like angry looking at a cat and the cat just gets scared and runs off. And then one of the comments under that video on YouTube basically says that like one of the things that was censored was that the guy actually kicks the cat or something. Yeah. And yeah, yeah.
That's
And
funny.
even in the current Wano arc, there is this one scene where it was a little too graphic to actually show on. Well, I don't know if it was too graphic to show on TV. It's just they just probably felt it wasn't proper for this show. So that was also another thing that was kind of censored. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's like stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well, I guess that's it for this episode. We'll be back again for episode 4 next week. Thanks for watching, everyone.
all right, cool.